Welcome to the Daily Dish with Leanne Ely. This is a show about you, your life, and the vibrancy you want. Join us for daily motivation, wise women's tips, and more as we collectively gather together and move the needle in our lives, heart, mind, body, and soul. Now, here is your host, Leanne Ely, and the Daily Dish.
Caught me mid-sip. How's everyone doing? Thirsty Thursday after all. There's my girl Flynn. Amber's in the house. So's Jenny. We also have Catherine here. Noreen is here. Francesca, didn't I see you up there? Yes, I did. You kind of crept in. Didn't let me see you, but I saw you. Hey, Jackie and Kimberline. I'm so glad you're all here. I'm excited for Thirsty Thursday. I've wrote out in detail something that I talk about often, just in passing. So I think you're going to find today's show interesting. And I mention this because one of the things that I think everybody needs to get on top of is two things. One is, are you getting our daily newsletter? Our daily newsletter has all the things and more. It's one email a day. That's it. And usually it's first thing in the morning. It'll be there waiting for you with today's notes. So tomorrow you will get today's show notes. It's really helpful. It helps to outline everything. I really like that. Catherine's in the house. Hello, Catherine. Jama, Nancy, Joanne, of course, Alice. Hello, Susan. Look at all of you lovely storming the gates here. Love to see you all here. So I say do that. And the second thing I say is to get on our text message list. Let me tell you, this is where you're going to find deals you will find nowhere else. Not in emails, not here on the Daily Dish, nowhere else. Only there. Send the word join to this phone number, 855-960-3720. So here it is. It's called an SMS, which is just another word for text messaging. So when you do this, just plug in that phone number into the, who you're sending it to, and then in the message part, put the word join. Okay? That's how that whole thing works. Hey, Karen, Sue's here too. Are you kidding me? Nancy's in the house. Nice to have you all here. Are we having a good time or what? Right? Already? I know we are. Look at our quote of the week. Roses do not bloom hurriedly, for beauty, like any masterpiece, takes time to blossom. And this is a shout out to all the women out there who are over the age of 40, 50, 60. Hoo-ha, right there. Boom, boom, boom. Love this quote. It takes time to blossom. It takes time to be fully in bloom. It takes time to understand who you are, and it takes time to fully become who you are. It's part of the whole process. Can we just now make it a pinkies up thing that we're going to have patience with ourselves? How about that for 2022? Having patience with ourselves, nurturing and tending the gardens of our own souls, and being the women that we want to be. That's how we do it. It's not like that. It takes a minute, doesn't it? Oh, I love it. Nancy gave me a bunch of flowers for that one. That's so good. Deborah, I'm so glad you're here. Corliss is in the house. How did I miss that? Pinkies up. Look, I see the pinkies go up. It just lights me up. Lights me up. Love that. Linda's in the house. I missed her too. Hey, Linda, I'm glad you're here. So today we're going to be talking about going all in. Not 98%, not 99, but 100%. And this is going to be some fire. You ready for that? Kimberline says she's turning 60. Terrific on Sunday. Well, happy almost birthday. You know what? 62 is terrific. So 63. I've experienced 62, currently experiencing 63. You know what's a number? Who cares? You know what I care about? The vibrancy that I live each day with. That's it. That's it. Somebody asked me how old I am. I'm not going to hedge and haw and say, ooh, how old do you think I am? I don't care. I'm not going to waste my breath on that. I'm going to hold my number proudly. You know why? Because I'm here to defy all that age-related garbage that people say happens as you get older. Baloney. You know why? Because if you are living your life vibrantly, you're getting up off your can and moving around. You're watching the food that you eat because you know you're fueling a life. And your thoughts, same thing. You're selecting your thoughts. You're not just letting anything haphazard in there. That's not going to direct your path. You know what I'm talking about, right? Right, Francesca, look at that. I still look out of the same eyes. Right on. That's exactly what it is. Organic ACV, like I said, buy 3, get 1 free. Now, there's a big time reason I love organic ACV, and there's a big time reason I love our show specials. Really, that's what they are. We have special of the week every week. And wise women pay attention to them and stock up accordingly, because this is how you get free supplements, essentially. Hi, Terry. I'm glad you're here. When we do that, you know, we stay in our habit of taking our supplements. When we run out and we're going helter-skelter all over the place and what have you, it's not a commitment. And I want you to commit to taking your supplements. I want you to commit to full on feeling healthy. Have you noticed the difference? Anyone notice the difference on how you feel when you take your supplements versus how you feel when you don't? To me, it's a night and day difference. It's just crazy. Who's got a question for me on Friday, by the way? You know, Q&A is tomorrow. Do you have a question? Nutrition, supplement. Remember, I'm a nutritionist, 27 plus years. I can help you with supplements. I can help you with nutrition questions. I can help you with cooking. I've done a couple of cookbooks. You know, just send in your question to support@savingdinner.com. Question for Leanne on Friday. Easy, right there in the subject line. Then it'll get to me. And then I'm going to knock it out of the park for you. I promise you. Pinkies up. That's what we do. Hi, Carol. I'm so glad you're here. We got lots of stuff for Christmas presents, including gift cards, for heaven's sakes. You should be taking advantage of that, especially our mix book. savingdinner.com/mix book. You'll see you can make something like this. Look, you make the spice yourself. We'll give you the labels and we'll give you the spice blend book right here. I've got it here. I swear to. Right here. 90 different recipes. It lays flat. The numbers on the look at that. The number, see, number 10? Number 10 recipe in here. Are we smart or what? We want to keep it easy for you. And we also want you to light people up with this idea and this notion. They don't need instant mixes to make food. They just need to know how to use spices correctly. And the Ultimate Mix book makes it easy, really easy. What a great gift. Well, hello, Amy. I'm so glad you're here. This is her first time with a live. Angie's also in the house. So glad to have you here. So I've covered all the bases. It's now time to dig into the material because you know all of this week we were talking about going all in and how commitment is the thing and how commitment is like, you know, the chicken made a contribution, but the pig made a commitment. And the difference between a contribution and a commitment, we discussed that all on Monday. I did say gift card, Nancy. We have them. We'll get you a link. But we're going to go all in and talk about the level of commitment. And speaking of which, you are going to want to mark your calendars for Saturday, January 8th, because this is about going all in on the goals that light your heart on fire. Not mine, no one else's, your goals. And how to make them in a way that you actually attain them. Anybody here ever done a New Year's Eve or a New Year's resolution and found that to be complete crap? Pinkies up. That was me. It doesn't work. So we have a methodology that does work. And believe me, that I live and die by my little Take Back Your Life journal. It's everything. And it really lights you up. And I'm going to take you through all of it. All of it. We'll be doing vision boards, and it's how to start 2022 with vibrancy. I don't know if that's the exact title, but it's something like that. We'll give you the link probably tomorrow or Saturday, but I promise you, this is something you want to be a part of. Okay? Let's just clear the ground on that one. Right now, though, we're going to be talking about going all in and to that level of commitment, not just the lip service level of commitment, but the real thing. Anybody remember this? Tell me if you know what this is from. If you like it, you better put a ring on it. Has anyone heard that one before? if you like it, then you better put a ring on it. Anyone? Anyone? I'm going to wait and see if anybody has that. Who sang that song? Shall I sing the Jeopardy song? It was Beyonce, Single Ladies, way back in the day. If you like it, there you go, Cindy. There you go. See, Cindy knows. If you like it, then you better put a ring on it. In other words, commit, fool, or get out. Commit or get out. Anybody ever been in that position before where it's just like, you know what? I want marriage. I want to have babies. I want to do this. And you're with some dude who's saying, you know, there's like, well, maybe 98% in, and then just falls off the cliff, the other 2%. Good marriage material? Nope. Putting a ring on it indicates an intention of marriage, commitment, and not just a half-ass commitment, all the way in, because that's what marriage is. It's all the way in. You put a ring on it, right? So your commitment then is to that other person. All other women are off the table. That other person, they're your one and only. You are their one and only. We're done. That's what commitment is. And that hopefully is going to get you through the next 50 years or whatever. And staying the course. There's a lot of ways to stay the course, of course, but you have to start with the place of making that commitment and putting a ring on it, because that means there's zero wiggle room. There's no wiggle room. What if there was wiggle room? What if there was just a little bit of, well, you know, going to Las Vegas for this convention and I'm 98% in. So that 2%, when all the guys are out at the bar and we're all together, and well, what happens then? Makes you a little nervous, doesn't it? That's not what we want. If we're going to be in 100%, then we want 100% in. We don't want the wiggle room. That's why we've committed. So what we need to look at is what Clayton Christian calls the 100% rule. Okay, he's an author. When you're 100% in, it's simpler because you have less choice, and that means you have less decision fatigue. You know what I'm talking about. We're going to get into the details on that one, but decision fatigue is exhausting. Did you know that your brain lives on glucose, and the glucose it gets is broken down from the food that you eat? And yes, even if you 86 carbohydrates all the way, you're still going to get glucose. You can get glucose out of a steak, y'all. You know, your brain, but your brain, that's how your brain operates. It needs that. That is quick energy for your brain to use to help make decisions. And then where we go next with all of that is, if you're using a lot of energy in your decision making and you're back and forth, you're going to be, have you ever been to that place? I just can't make a decision. I'm exhausted. It's for real. It is a real thing. Decision fatigue will exhaust you. And you haven't even done anything, but you're back and forth in your brain, and your brain is using up a ton of energy for real. So we know this, that 98% is going to give you that wiggle room for that decision fatigue. And that is going to be exhausting, because 98% is lip service. It's not a commitment, right? Sounds good, looks good on paper, but it's not showing up for real. Most of the time it is, but not all of the time. He also said, by the way, this guy, Clayton Christian's also a Harvard business professor. He said, it's easier to hold to your principles 100% of the time than 98% of the time. And this is all backed by research. 100% is a decision, while 98% is not a decision. And there's a big difference in that. We've talked before about choice versus decision, and just say, when you say I've made a choice versus I've made a decision, which sounds the most imperative? It's decision. Choice is, I've made a choice. I'm going to have the blue one. And decision is, I've made a decision. You know, fist goes down on the table. There's a whole different feel for decision. And again, no wiggle room. So a partial commitment doesn't put a ring on it. We know that. And I know that nobody who has an idea of what a marriage should be is going to say, let's do this. You know, there's no security in that. And, you know, there's a lot of questions on what 98% means. if you are in a marriage relationship with someone, or even just a relationship with someone, when they're only committed 98%. Because while you've got a good chunk of that 2% leaves you guessing and wondering what's happening that 2% of the time. Who's he texting? Who's Facebook messaging him? All these kind of questions. So when we look at what 100% commitment is, what we see is black and white, and we eliminate the gray. It's this, not that. It's 100% this. It's 100% not that. This is what it is. It's definitive. Put, period on it, and we're done. It's it. We eliminate the gray. But when we're not 100% committed, we lose the ability to predict our own behavior. I think that's interesting. Have you noticed that? It's true. Think about it. Think about it this way. Like you're going to a party, and right now is the time when you're going to a party. This is when this all happens. This is when all this falls apart. This is why we're talking about it. You go to a party, your spouse is having a holiday party of some sort, or you're doing one, or whatever. And you're thinking, you know what? I'm going to stay the course. We're sprinting this week. By the way, how's everyone doing? Pinkies up. Good? Huh? I want to stay the course. I don't want everything, fall. I've put a lot of energy into this. I don't want everything falling down. I'm on it. And then you walk in, and there's this sumptuous buffet table. And by the way, the dessert table's ridiculous. Everything is crazy town, right? And what happens? You have decent intentions, but you leave wishing that you'd stuck with your original intention. You leave, you feel guilty, and maybe even a little ashamed. You feel a little bit like, I didn't follow through. I said I was going to, and then look what happened. Here's what happens when all of that happens too. And I want to talk about this because it isn't just about, well, I did this, and so, oh, well, have a little grace. Yeah. Oh, well, have a little grace, but you're taking a bigger hit than you realize, because inside you've failed yourself, and inside you're kind of cringing a little bit, and your confidence goes down, and your ability to make that decision, to stay strong and to do the right thing, and this, that, and the other thing. We're just talking about food right now, but you can apply this to a lot of different areas if you wanted to, whatever it is that you're really hoping to get on top of, say, for 2022. But what you have is that what you've done is you've taken something that you wanted to do in the first place and just completely dashed it against the rocks because the temptation of what was in front of you was just too much. I get it. I mean, raise your hand if you've done it. So have I. We've all done it, right? But here's the deal. We end up in a conflict with our own integrity because we say, even into our spouse in the car on the way over, you know what? Hold me to it. I'm going to be really strong. And I know there's going to be a big buffet table there and all of that, but I'm going to stay the course. Robert Brault said, we are kept from our goal not by obstacles, but by a clear path to a lesser goal. In other words, the temptation in front of us is just too much. That's the only thing that we see. It's just that moment, that momentary, gotta have it. And then all of the regret starts piling on. Remember that we've done that whole timeline of regret before, where you start where, you get the craving, you get the thing, and you think you're going to be okay, and I've got this. And then it comes in, and then all of a sudden, then you're looking at it, boom. Next thing you know, you're 2 bites in with the truffles, and you've got a glass of wine in one hand, and you're eyeballing over there some shrimp you missed, right? That's what happens. So 100% saves you from that. 100% says there's no gray, there's no, but this is how it's going to work. I'm going to go up there. I'm going to survey that buffet table and see what's there that is on what I want to do, because I want to stay in an anti-inflammatory state. I don't want to go where I went last year. I have a plan in mind. I have a clear goal in mind. I have 100% commitment to what I'm doing for my own well-being, and not just for a moment of fun, right? So 100% saves you because the answer is an established no. It was a part of your goal. You've already made a decision. You knew it's coming and you've been prepared for it. We should talk about that too. And you told whoever you needed to in advance about what it is that you needed. So say you were going to a dinner party, you let your hostess know, that fettuccine Alfredo isn't going to work for me. And this is the reason why. However, I'm happy to bring my own stuff. Or however, X, Y, and Z. And not to make everybody uncomfortable, not to whatever, but to basically, one, stand up for yourself, and two, stay true to the goal and the commitment that you made in the first place. And I will say three, to keep your integrity intact. How many times can we chip away at our integrity by keep breaking those commitments that we make to ourselves before we start to feel like crap, before we start to feel like there's no way I can do this, before we start to say, I have no willpower, I have no this, I can't, and this, that, and the other thing. I don't believe it's a matter of willpower. I don't believe it's a matter of motivation. I don't believe it's a matter of any of this. I believe it's a matter of making up your mind and making a decision. I believe it's a matter of going all in or making a step back and say, you know what? Making food rules for yourself. We've talked about that before. I am 100% in unless this is my food. This is my exception. I don't eat cake unless I'm at a wedding. I don't eat cake unless it's a birthday for somebody in my immediate family. Whatever it is. But when we do this, then we've made clear lines on everything. And clear lines on everything, it's so much easier. Amen. It's so much easier. And, that makes our experience predictable. It makes it stable, and it makes our integrity unquestionable. Yeah, it does hit that love. It does hit you right in the soul. It does hit you right where you live. And yes, these things add up. And yes, they mean something. And yes, it dings your self-esteem. So this back and forth decision-making stuff, I'm in, I'm out, I'm in, I'm out. I don't know, maybe I will, maybe I won't. All of that, of course, like I said, there are exceptions for every rule. But when we go 100% in, we have absolute clean lines, and it makes it really simple. My mom, 30 years before she passed, made a decision to quit drinking. Now, she lived alone. And she said it just worried her sometimes that every night she was pouring herself a glass of wine, and she wasn't like drinking entire bottles of wine and passing out and waking up with, a bottle on her bed or anything like that. But she just said, she said, knowing my personality and the way I am, I just need to make a clean break. And she did. So I knew what that meant. It was very, very simple, very easy. And there was no back and forth. So when we'd go out to dinner or whatever, I would order a glass of wine. I wouldn't order a bottle of wine because I knew my mother wouldn't have any. We'd go out for Mexican. I'd order a margarita. She'd have a virgin one, And the thing that I love about my mom was when my mom made a decision, it was like the door slammed shut, It was sort of like Get Smart, with all the doors that da-da, it just done, just done. The cone of silence, not happening. And she never even asked for just a little. It was just a done deal. There was no gray. There was no wondering, what's she going to do this time? She had made a decision. She was 100% in. Benjamin Hardy says that to project to the future, that's one of the keys to making a decision on going all in. And he says, what would my future self do? Now, if we look at ourselves right now today, where we are in December, I don't even know what the date is, but December 2022, 21. What would my future self look like in December 2022? What would I look like? Now, if you are trying to lose weight, that's a real easy one to do because, a lot of people have that goal, and you look at that and you think about it 365 days from today, what would that look like if I was 100% committed to that goal? What would that look like? What would you be doing? Would you be doing anything less, different? Would you be more active? Would you be feeling better? Would you be talking to your doctor and getting better results back. Think about all the things that come with 100% sticking with your goal. All right, less pain, less inflammation, feeling fantastic. Suddenly, all kinds of symptoms have just disappeared. Doctor taking you off of medications. What are you wearing? Do you go to a holiday party? How do you feel? All of these things. That's your future self. What is your future self doing? This future self can tell you about what it is that you're going to do for today on Thursday in December. What is it, the 9th? Yeah. Your future self could tell you, Thursday, December 9th, 2022, you're doing X, Y, and Z because you stuck to your commitment that you made on December 9th, 2021. This is what you're going to do for today when you make that commitment, because your future self is looking at you and saying, hey, remember me? Think about that. That's powerful. That's the one that's the thing that's going to say, tap you on the shoulder and say, no, you don't want that dessert. No, you don't need another cocktail. No, you can back away from the chips and the dips and all this other kind of stuff and just go have a sparkling water, for heaven's sakes. Jack Canfield said, and you remember him, Chicken Soup for the Soul guy, that guy. Successful people adhere to the no exception rule when it comes to their daily discipline. He said this, I'm quoting him, by the way, so pretend that you didn't hear this language. 99% is a bitch. 100% is a breeze. I mean, he went right down to just giving you 1%. I was giving you 2%. I think this is so critical and so important because it is. You still have wiggle room, and that wiggle room gets bigger. That little bit of wiggle room, we have a tendency to blow out of the water. Our decisions gone. A wholehearted commitment might seem hard, but I'll tell you what's harder is a half-ass commitment, because that leaves so much wiggle room that you are constantly in a stage of mental fatigue, and also in beating yourself up, kicking yourself to the curb, throwing everything out because your decision is so wobbly. So here's what you need to do with all of this, because there's always something, there's an imperative to do. Number one is to determine in your life what needs 100% commitment. Red alert, not everything in your life needs 100% commitment, not everything. But there are certain things that do. I mean, it's like when you make a decision to get a dog, for example. Mark and I went back and forth on this for 2 years. Do we want a dog? A dog means X in commitment. We're going to train. We're going to give them good food. We're going to, keep up on the shots and do all the things. And being good dog owners means that's what you do. 100% commitment. That goes without saying with children, also goes without saying in marriage, that this is what this means. No wiggle room. It's 100% commitment. But again, not everything needs that. I mean, you don't have to 100% commit to vacuuming your floor. You don't have to 100% commit to doing the wash every Tuesday, if it doesn't make sense. You know what I'm saying? So I think we need to have of course we need to have gray in our lives, but we also need to be extraordinary black and white when it comes to our 100% commitments. That's what I'm talking about. Number two is to plan it out, think it through, and give it everything you've got. That means, so for example, the party that we have, this whole idea of the party. So here's how you would do a party. Let's say you've got a holiday invitation for a party. Let's say it's tomorrow night. And you're going, but I'm sprinting. Okay, so here's how it works. First of all, one is you let your spouse know, if you're going with him or her or whatever, and you let him know that, hey, I'm going to this party. I am going to have a smoothie before we go. I'm going to keep my plate Target trifecta. I'm going to be drinking mineral water with a big lime in there. So please don't, ask me if I want alcohol or whatever. But you have your objective clearly in place, a plan in mind, a way to follow through, a strategy to follow through so that you're not going up there and wiggling all over the place when it comes to the buffet table. So when you go up to the buffet table already with this plan in mind, already with a, a mini smoothie or whatever down in your belly, you go up to the buffet table and you look at it and you go, okay, there's some shrimp. I see some salad over there. And even with a little olive oil, look at that over there. I see there's some veggies on veggie crudité there. Fabulous. And you go through and you make a decision on what's there based on what's there. And just in case, because you've been to this place before, maybe you can bring something, you bring something that you can have. You make sure that you get a good helping of it and you're fine. And you handle yourself. You're not there to eat. You're there to socialize. You're there to see people that you haven't seen in a long time. This isn't all about the food and the drink. It's merrymaking for sure, but you've got that plan in mind. So that's how that whole thing works out. And then you know what you do? You shampoo, rinse, and repeat, and repeat, and repeat, and repeat, and repeat. When we put it on repeat, that's when we start to go from intention to behavior to habit to practice to second nature. And then finally, it's just who you are. Remember that? We talked about that on Monday. That's Brendon Burchard's fabulous quote. I love that because it shows it is a mountain to climb to get there. And there's a lot of false starts and stops. There's a lot of getting there and then sliding back. But this kind of commitment that I'm talking about, going full in, wholeheartedly with everything that you've got on the things that light you up. I don't make your goals, you make your goals on the things that you want in your life, as if your vibrancy depended on it, because it does. Then that's the way that you plan what it is that you're going to do for 2022. Simply like that. We have to look at this, because if this is the case, if this is the goal that we want, if this is the way we want to see us, if future self looking back and saying, December 9th, 2022, I made a decision that day. I made a full on 100% commitment that day. Then your future self is going to be looking at you and say, you know what? She did it all the way. She didn't half-ass it. She did it all the way. And anything less than 100% on something that lights you up, that has no wiggle room, that needs a full-hearted commitment, that needs your full everything effort and integrity and promise and everything else that you have, anything else is half-assery. And I know that just sounds really bold and sharp and what have you, but there's a lot of things that don't require this in life. But there's a few things that do require this kind of thing. And if you go into our Hot Melt Sprint group, the people that you see with the results are the people that gave it 100%. There was no wiggle room. They just went right for it. Day in, day out. Shampoo, rinse, repeat, and repeat, and repeat. So I have to say to you, this is the secret to hitting your most meaningful goals right out of the park. And this is worth your time. It is worth your energy to be bold, to be strong, to say no when you mean no, to say yes when you mean yes, and to be the vibrant woman that you are born and given the purpose to be. You can't do that when you're half-assing your life. You just can't. And this important stuff that we're talking about, it deserves your commitment. And guess what? You have all the tools that you need to do it. And if you want to strengthen them, I'm telling you, January 8th, we're going to take it to that level. So there's just no question about what your goals are, and there's no question that you're going to get there. That's what I want for you. That's what I want for me. That's vibrancy right there. And we're going to do it. You ready? I'll tell you right now, I'm going to give you a little hinty poo. If you want a little something special about this whole thing that we're having on Saturday the 8th, January 8th, get on our text messaging. Text the word join to 855-960-3720. You'll thank me later. All right? Appreciate you. Peace be with you. Bye-bye.
Thanks for watching. Check back for new episodes. If you missed the live show, you can always watch the replay. You can find Saving Dinner on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. Until next time, pinkies up.